Hello, Maria. Welcome to the Positive Leadership Academy podcast. So excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I love it.
I was amazed by your story, and I hope the audience connect with you as well because it's very inspiring. But one of the things that attract me the most, and I am publishing my second book in September called Recoded, and one of the things that I talk about is control, right? And what I went through. My dad was a very controlling person. A lot of people in my family are that way, and I kind of inherit that leadership style. And I remember controlling a lot of aspects of how I lead. And I don't think it was leading teams. I think it was more controlling teams and pressuring them. And I remember literally closing the door of the meeting room if people were late. They were late 1 minute. I would close it and say, I'm sorry, you're late. Da, 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 da. And for whatever triggers that I had, it made me think. And I thought that was the way. But you found, after being in corporate, you find a way that it really it brought you a lot of human connection, right? With horses. If you can elaborate, that'd be great.
Yes. So I had to relearn everything, I thought I knew about control, what I knew about leadership, because the horses just weren't responding to me. So everything I had been taught that you have to, don't give an inch and show them who's boss and all these kinds of teachings and styles was making my horse hate me. So then I thought, I'm not enjoying this. He's not enjoying this. He runs away from me. That's not the relationship I want with my horse. And so I found what's called natural horsemanship, which is a lot of guys out in the West, the horse whisperers, basically. So they had found this way of interacting with horses where it's more of a partnership and it's more of an understanding of each other and respecting each other. It doesn't mean that you won't be the leader. You will just be a leader in a much, much better way because I don't have to hit him into submission. I just have to work with him enough that he trusts me. And he trusts my judgment. So I say, we're going over there, and he goes. So it just was mind altering for me of the difference. And so I started applying all these techniques that I was learning with my horse. And I'll tell you some of the stories because that really helps people understand what I'm talking about because it's way beyond horse training. So I was having issues with my children. And so I thought, let me try what I did with the horse and learning how to release pressure. And what does that look like in human interactions? And does it work? When you release the pressure, does it make them want to come back to you? And yes, it does. So, just learning these little techniques, and it was just making all my relationships so much smoother. Even at work, I was, like you said, working corporate America. I was in DC having every now and then conflicts at work and what kind of manager do I want to be? Do I want to be the kind of manager that I come in and everybody shuts down? Like, how do I get the most out of the people that I'm working with or working for me? How do I get the most out of them without them being afraid of me when I come? So just so many different stories, and it completely changed how I interact every day, everywhere, at home, at work, absolutely any arena, I call it, that I'm in I have a different approach.
Yes. The cowboy method. I don't know.
I've heard of that.
Yes. And I was very fortunate because I learned how to ride horses instead of the cowboy saddle, the English one. And I remember talking to this lady. It was a sanctuary for horses, and those horses were there. They have multiple horses that obviously they didn't want to. The owner did not want them to get them killed, and he will pay whatever, and then he will provide classes, and then you can lease the horse, you can exercise the horse. But I remember taking a class, and it's funny because you're like, great, I'm gonna ride this horse. And I remember for 2 months, it was going out there, picking up the horse, making a friendship with the horse. I will carry carrots and apples, and I had an Arabian horse named Bravo, and he will look at me and he will smell if I had carrots or apples. If I didn't have anything, he will like slowly start walking away from me. And you need to get a rope, get him going, brush the horse, really talk to him. And I will get really eager, like, hey, when we're going to put this saddle, when we're going to ride this horse. And it's like, oh, no, no, no. He needs to trust you. And I'm thinking, and you see these horses, I mean, they're magnificent and they're amazing. And I remember just building that relationship. And
Yes.
through that process, I became very aware of what was happening inside of me. It was interesting what I was going through. I had a beautiful experience with Bravo. and Bravo happened to be an endurance horse, so they will take him for races and so on. But it was really amazing, that connection
Yeah.
and that
And that
method. And he brought a lot of things that I was in a way projecting and not realizing that they were happening internally. Yeah.
Yes. And actually, that's one of the stories before I actually decided to leave working in DC and start this as a company of doing this, having people to the farm and running through these exercises. One of the key pivotal moments about 15 years ago, I had my horses at a barn nearby, and I work a lot with most of my horses are rescue horses because they have been in kill pens, and I take them and I can work with them. And so at that barn where I was, there was a young lady that had a rope on her horse all the time. Like usually when you drive by and you see horses out loose with their friends, they usually don't have halters or any ropes on them. They're just out with their friends, right? Well, this lady always had the halter on her horse and a short rope like this long, just so the horse wouldn't tangle his legs, but it was still there. And so I asked her once, why do you keep that on your horse all the time? And she said, because she runs away from me. When I come out to the field, she runs away. And so I kind of have to shake some grain, a bucket of grain, or have treats and show her. And then when she gets close, I can grab her. And I thought, oh, that's the opposite relationship I want with my horses. So it's this idea of, no, I want them to come to me, not just because I have carrots, but because they really want to be with me, because I have been a good leader. I have been a good friend. I take care of them. I help them. And so what had happened with this young woman is that she had this relationship with her horse that it was just one-sided, right? She shows up, she rides, she throws the horse back out in the field. It's never anything really good for the horse. So I made sure that for a month, I showed up for my horses. I showed up. Sometimes I rode, sometimes I didn't. I would know where they like to be scratched. I know who liked the clover patch in a certain place and take him over to that patch. One of them liked to get a bath. One of them didn't. So just mixing it up. And then I remember driving in one time and my horses pulled away from their friends in the field and they came running to the gate and they were waiting for me at the gate. And I couldn't get out of my car fast enough. They were just ready, like, oh, yay, she's here. And I thought, perfect. That's what I want. That's the reaction I want when my horses see me. So if you think about it, when you get home, if your dog runs away from you, like something's wrong. You get home. So, but with horses, for some reason, people accept it and they'll just say, oh, he's hard to catch, or, they'll make excuses for it. But it's the same thing. It's because you've built this relationship that's very one-sided. So then fast forward. So everything I do is really meant to be not so much about the horses, but about the people. So it's personal development, self-awareness. How can this help a person, right? A human, all these lessons. So when people come out, I tell them, you're not here to be a horse trainer. Like you're here to take something home that might help you in a relationship that's important to you at work or at home, family, whatever it is. So 10 years, no, maybe 5 years later, I'm sitting at my kitchen counter having a coffee, and out of the corner of my eye, I see my teenage son walking towards the kitchen. And then he all of a sudden stops and he starts backing up quietly. So I thought, ugh, I just did to my son what this young lady was doing to her horse, because he saw mom and he's like, nope, not in the mood for mom today. So immediately it hit me and I thought, okay, I've been turning our relationship too much into expectations. Like, have you cleaned your room? Have you, college essays, homework, laundry? Like probably every time I saw him, I was coming at him with requests and a to-do list and just that energy. And he felt it and he thought, no, I'm really not in the mood. So I thought, okay, that's not the relationship I want with my son. I want my son to see me having coffee and saying, yay, coffee with mom. So how do I change this dynamic that I've been a part in creating? How do I change it that he willingly comes to me? Also because 16, they don't always share that much, teenagers, but I'm also interested in investing in this relationship for the future. So the first 16, 17 years that you're raising kids is different. You want a relationship that's going to extend way beyond. So when they're off in college, when they're off having children, you still want to have a relationship. So I thought, okay, what can I do with my kid? Because treats, carrots, obviously that's not going to work. Yes. His favorite meal. Yes, that'll work. So how do I release the pressure? We have a tendency also when we have someone captive. So like when I picked him up from football practice, I would start grilling him. And I thought, okay, I need to stop doing that. Like just because I have him in the car doesn't mean he really has to share with me. So how do I release the pressure? So in horsemanship, releasing the pressure is how they understand that they did something right. If I ask my horse to do something, he does it, I immediately release the pressure. He's like, oh, okay, I get it. I did what she wanted and now she released the pressure. So with my son, how do I release the pressure? Maybe he gets in the car and I say, you know what? I'm listening to this podcast. Do you mind if I put this on? Or I have one more chapter in this book on tape. Do you mind if I keep listening? That way he can just be in the car. It's not going to stop him if he wants to share something, but we're also not sitting there in silence with this feeling of mom wants me to say something. And yeah, so it was removing that pressure. So I was super happy. It took a little bit of work but it really changed things so much so that, and actually I went to Spain because I was looking at a map, same kitchen counter. A few months later, I have a map of Spain out and he comes and he goes, Mom, what is that? And I said, oh, I'm going to take a trip. There's a pilgrimage walk in the north of Spain called the Camino de Santiago. I'm like, I think I'm going to go walk and maybe do 100 miles. And he's like, can I go? Like,
Yeah.
yes. From backing out of the kitchen to you want to go walk 100 miles with me? Absolutely, yes. So I was like, yay, this lesson that my horse taught me that I translated into, just improving relationship with one of my kids. So those are the kinds of stories like that I have been able to, things that I've learned with the horses, translate that. How does this help everyday people with leadership, with relationships? Because it's all about communication. That's the bottom line. It's communication. Yeah. So in my book, it's called Ask Like You Mean It. And it's every story of training and then clients that have come and what they've learned, because I don't always know what they're learning. And then they'll have these moments of like, wow. And I'm like, wait, tell me what's going on. And then they share with me what they got. It's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, as I was hearing you on your stories, which are wonderful, to put this in practice is one thing that I also realized when I was doing, and obviously I didn't have the opportunity to do your training, was one of the things that I was doing is I was really paying attention to the body language because, the instructor would say, hey, pay attention to the horse, right? Horses are omnivores and we're carnivorous. So if you make eye contact, that is a threat to them. So be mindful of that and really pay attention to the ears, kind of like your body language, how they're
Yes.
reacting to you as well. And I start thinking, oh my goodness, how do I show up when like you say, I'm at home, I'm leading a team, I am in a meeting. What is the body language that I am give away, and what is the energy that I am giving? So that was very interesting to become aware of that, right? Because the horses are going to capture that right away.
Energy. Totally. Energy is huge for them. And like you said, we are predators. Humans are predators. Horses are prey. So normally we shouldn't be friends at all because they know that we're predators. A lot of the things that we do are inherently aggressive to them. Like you said, just the way that we can look at them. Humans, we nod, we have eye contact, and that's a connection, right? With the horse, that's not. You have to pay attention to the ear. You have to pay attention if their head is very high. That's a sign of nervous. When we're working, it's usually like, no, we're going to wait for him to relax and to bring his head down. And I point out things for people too, like look at his ear. He's listening to you. Look at his eye. He's looking to you. So another story you had mentioned about bringing a horse in from the field. So I had a client once, she was leasing one of my horses and she went to get him from the field. She was leasing him for a month or two and everything was great. And then she came to me one time and she said, I can't get him anymore. His name was Rocky. Rocky won't come anymore. I try to get him and he just stands still and he locks his legs and he won't leave the field. And I said, that's so strange. He's never done that. I said, let me see what you're doing. Let me watch. So she went, she put the halter on and she starts walking, and every few feet she turned around and petted him. And then she would walk again and he would follow, and then she would stop and pet him. And then sure enough, the third time he locked his legs and he said, nope, I'm not going. So I asked her, why do you keep stopping? Because in my eyes, you made that whole interaction a question mark.
Yeah.
You broke the momentum. Like, this is such a leadership. Like, you broke the momentum. You were going. Why did you keep stopping? Is this an insecurity? Because she said, I want to make sure he's still there. And I said, well, you have the rope, so you know he's still there. I want to make sure he's okay. Why? He's okay. Like you
Yeah.
started doubting yourself. I said,
Mm.
try it again. Just put the rope on and walk, and just walk to the gate. And so she did. And she got to the gate and she goes, oh, good, Rocky, you were good this time. And I said, you realize this is not about Rocky, right? Like, she couldn't understand that this was her. It wasn't Rocky. She kept questioning, and he finally answered, but he didn't do anything wrong.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was like, the task at that point was, where else in your life does this show up? Because this is not like a unique situation here with Rocky. This shows up in your life somewhere where you break the momentum. You are afraid to ask for things. Maybe there's maybe no follow through. I tried to give her some things like, is this happen at home? Does it happen at work, with friends, with family? Is this a boundary issue where you're afraid to really tell them what you want, and then put boundaries around that. So where else does this show up? So that was her homework, to go home and figure it out. Because all of this, it's never about the horse. It's always
Absolutely. Yeah.
about us.
It's
Yeah.
about us. Yeah. And that brings me to my question is, when I guess this individual is more perhaps a pleaser, or perhaps like, okay, I need to get validation from you in order for me to move forward. What about the individuals that are very, what I call very controlling, right? And there's a lot of leaders out there that you can see it, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna give you the Darth Vader approach here, and I've seen it, and especially in corporate America. I think now we're getting better, but man, back in the '90s, it was. I mean, I met Larry Ellison, and he was very intimidating person to shake his hand, right? So what happens with people they're very controlling? What is their
So
experience with
the
them?
thing is that you can be strong in leadership in a kind way, and you can be in not a kind way. So I did have a group that came out once, the big boss and his staff, and he was very much like that. He was very much, and he told me, I have tons of horse experience. And I said, but this is different because there's no riding. I don't do any riding. It's all on the ground. It's all
Beautiful.
communication on the ground. Because once
Wow.
I had one trainer that said to me, if you don't have leadership on the ground, you have no business getting on. So that was okay. So we work on the leadership and what it brings out in each person. So he came in, his staff came, they did great. Everybody had an interaction with the horse. It was all good. And then he came in very heavy handed, I'm going to show this horse who's boss, and chasing him, that eventually my horse would not come near him. And I kept trying to guide him through the exercise. Like, you have to release the pressure, because right now you're establishing this relationship that's very one-sided. That's very push, 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 push. You need to balance it with, now invite him into your space, because you need to prove that you're safe, because you're just pushing with a stick and just this energy of, I'm the big boss. And so then my horse won't come near him. And then he looks to me like he's not doing what I'm saying. I'm like, none of this is about exact. He has to do. It's the communication, and he is communicating. He's not coming in. He doesn't want to be near you. You're not safe. And I tried to explain, like, open door policy, or at work, are your employees safe to come talk to you? Feedback, is it two ways, or is it all top heavy? And so we tried again, and we did eventually work it out, and we got the horse to come in. But I asked one of his managers later, I said, do you guys have a high turnover? And she said, yeah, that's one of our biggest problems. And I could see it. He just felt that he had to come and show the horse who was boss. And he did ask me at one point, what does this make you think of my leadership style? And I had to be really careful, because his staff is there, right? I can't really say.
Yeah.
So I had to, and I said, do you hover more than you need to? And then he said, well, I need to make sure they're doing their job. And then we got into a discussion of, if you hire the right people for the right jobs, you shouldn't have to hover. So is there a disconnect in your hiring practices? Like, where is this kind of getting a little bit troubled, where eventually the people end up leaving, and then you spend so much time hiring and training again? Like, let's try and work this out. Are you hiring the right people? And then you shouldn't have to. But it's hard to know. They didn't end up coming again for another session. So it's hard to know if he made any changes.
Any changes? Yeah.
in that case, I'm hopeful, but not, he just had his mind set. Like sometimes it's hard to really change someone's mind about maybe the way they're doing it isn't the best way.
Absolutely, yeah, and like you say, it needs to be some awareness in order for you to change and make that, and be courageous to take that. Can you share with us like a real breakthrough that you saw, like a complete transformation in someone?
Yes, I had a teacher, and this was one of those instances where she got something out of it like within the first 5 minutes, and she was ready to go home. And I'm like, wait, you have to tell me because now I'm so curious. She was asking the horse to back up. So we do it a few different ways. We can either gentle pressure on his chest, on his head, or energy. My thoroughbred was very, very sensitive, so I could just do this with my hands and he would back up. I didn't even have to touch him, right? Just the energy in my thought. Intention starts here, right? It changes my body and I say, back up, back up. And then when he does, you release. Again, you release the pressure. So she comes up and she starts doing this. And she says, why isn't he moving? And I ask her, well, where's your energy going? Because it's going to the sides and he's in front of you. So the minute she turned her hands, it was like a split second. My horse backed up. And that's when she thought, wow. So that's when I'm like, wait, you have to tell me what this is all about. So she was a middle school teacher and she was having trouble getting her students to hand in assignments. So she was not directly engaging with her students. She was talking, and I asked her, I said, do you think maybe you're talking around them? Like you were just doing this instead of engaging directly with the horse. So where's your energy going when you're talking to your students? So we just tried to play around with different ways. Can you ask them, if you just say, are we doing this assignment? You know, middle school kids, who's going to raise their hand and say, I don't understand it? You know, it's not conducive for them to really be honest and ask for help. So can you make small groups one day and go to each table and say, how can I help you guys? What are you guys thinking? What's going on? Like 3 or 4 kids per group. Or as they're coming in and out of the classroom, try to engage directly in some way. Just a quick touch, just a quick, are you doing okay with this assignment? Do you have any questions? Just a quick, rather than in front of the whole classroom. Are we doing it? Nobody says anything. The assignment doesn't get turned in. She's frustrated. She tries to next time penalize the students. And it's like, you know, maybe there's a middle ground. Maybe there's somewhere where we can meet in the middle where, of course, they still have to turn in their assignments, but it's not sink or swim. Like, let's figure out to try to get everybody over there. So that was really fun. She really didn't want to even continue because for her, that was so mind blowing. And I'm like, no, let's finish the whole session and see if anything else comes up. So that was fun.
Yeah, and that's an amazing story, and reminds me, there's so many great messages that you're delivering. One of them that comes very strong to me is the fact that we are part of this system, this Mother Earth, right? We're not the stronger species at all, which is part of it. How to be mindful and really connect in a mindful way with other living organism as well, right? I do see individuals, I pay attention a lot, and I see individuals paying more attention and being more gentle with their dogs than they are with their kids. And I
I
start
know.
wondering, yeah. And I start wondering if we are creating this aggressive way of parenting, right? How are we going to be able to build relationships at work too? Because I don't think you switch. You can wear a mask, but there's things that are going to show up at work as well. But it reminds me how important it is to really be mindful and really connect from a empathetic and be more human to those living things. Because I remember Bravo, the horse that I was working with, he was very affectionate to me. And when horses are affectionate, I mean, they're pure muscle, so they can knock you out.
Yeah.
And I remember
Yes.
him putting his hand, biting him here, and that is love right there. It's just a true expression of love and connection. And you're like, wow, this thing can literally kill me in a heartbeat.
Yes. He's
It's
1,000
muscle.
pounds at least. 1,000
Yes,
pounds, right?
1,000 pounds, and I'm making a connection, and he's happy, and I'm happy too. And that was such a beautiful moment. So that's why I was so excited to bring you on the show, because I think a lot of leaders need to hear this. And how does it work if people want to go to your farm? They
So,
connect you where they can reach out to you.
yes, Horse and People Project is the company. I'm on all the socials, Horse and People Project. I have a book, Ask Like You Mean It, because that was a mantra I had to tell people all the time when they would ask the horse for something, but they were very ambiguous. And I'm like, no, ask like you mean it. Like, he's 1,000 pounds. Back to that point. This is a big creature. You cannot be ambiguous. It's very straightforward. So ask like you mean it. Doesn't mean you have to be mean. You just have to be clear and
Yeah.
solid. No,
Yeah.
I'm protecting. Don't step on me. No, thank you. Don't step on me. Not, the people that would wait too long and then get angry. It's like, oh, because you didn't stop it. Like, and even my horse, you said rubbing. My horse is allowed to rub his head on me. He's not allowed to push me off my feet.
Yeah, because they
Because
do that as well. Yeah.
because when they push you off your feet, now they know or they think they might be in charge. So you're allowed to scratch, ask for a scratch, and I'm happy to scratch you, but you cannot start pushing me around. Then I have to address that situation. So Horse and People Project, I'm on all the socials. I have a website. I also, if people are in the Maryland or the Maryland, DC, Virginia, I do sessions at the farm. When they're not here, I have my book. I try in the book really to tell all these stories so that people, they don't have to come here. They can get these lessons because I do think these lessons are so helpful from the clients and excuse me. So that was the purpose of the book, Ask Like You Mean It. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And then I'm also developing a course that's in the future. And I speak. I go around. I'm going to Colorado in August. So I give talks
Awesome.
just to
And I
tell
will
these
put that on
stories.
absolutely. They're wonderful stories. And I will put that in the show notes. Thank you for being part of the Positive Leadership Academy podcast. I wanted to talk to you. I'm so glad that you came on board because it really brought a lot of good memories. I think it really helped me. Bravo helped me to be not just a better leader, but a better human being to others. And I respect, and that's why horses are majestics. They're amazing, and they can teach you a lot. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I totally agree.